Hey guys, Justin Smith here, up here in Alaska. Got my great little hat on right there. Yeah, just keeping warm. Thankful for the opportunity to bring another video to you. And I'm getting ready to go to work right now. And when I say work, I'm not talking about the ministry, though everywhere we go, we have ministry opportunities. But the Lord has given some tent-making opportunities, as I call them. And so getting ready to go and finish up a flooring job, or hopefully get close to doing that. And so it certainly is a blessing to be able to have what I call tent-making opportunities, little side jobs to be able to carry us through financially. And that is not to say that we are not grateful, because we are grateful for every single giver that supports our ministry. And again, we say thank you and we say God bless you. One of the reasons why I'm recording right now is not just because it's before the day gets busy, but I also wanted you to see outside the window. It's dark. It's dark. And it's 8:30 in the morning, and a little after 10 is when the sun officially rises up here. And so we're very, very grateful for just being able to be up here to serve the Lord and to be able to be with family and have opportunities abounding in the work of the ministry. So thank you for your prayers. There is a verse that I want to share with you, because as I woke up this morning, I was very, very much put in remembrance of how God is using people like you to care for us in the work of the ministry. And it reminded me of a verse in the Philippians. One of the things that my wife and I did before we got married was we memorized the 4 chapters of the Philippians. And, we don't remember every single verse in our hearts, but there are certain times where certain verses pop up. And I believe that that's one of the blessings of Scripture memory. Here in Philippians chapter 4, I am reminded of Paul being reminded of how people cared for him. In the verse number 10, but I rejoiced greatly in the Lord. I rejoiced in the Lord greatly. Now, as I stop right there, this morning I woke up rejoicing over those who have a care for our family. There's no reason why you'd have to do that. And therefore, I need to rejoice greatly, being reminded that this is just out of the generosity of your heart as our supporters, that you take care of us. And we say thank you. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this video is not just to say thank you and show you Alaska, but to remind you that, especially if you don't care for anyone financially who's in the ministry, this would be a great opportunity for you to do so, to care for your pastor. My pastor has a wonderful testimony of a dear family that doesn't even go to his church that have provided, it was either a quarter cow or a half cow for them to provide meat for them in the next year. And that is a wonderful way to support a pastor or his family. And as I consider the many different ways that people have blessed us, I'm bringing you this message because maybe you don't support anyone. And now would be a great time for you to encourage a family who is in need. Man, I was getting emails today from missionaries. We know missionaries, we know evangelists, we know pastors. And so please understand that as this verse is brought to my mind, that it is not to get you to come on board with supporting a Heart for Revival Ministries and our ministry. There are so many ministries out there that need your care and need your attention when it comes down to financial support, as well as emotional support. You could go from there. And it's good to be a friend to those who are laboring in the work of the ministry. And here's what Paul said. Paul said, but I rejoiced in the Lord greatly. Now at the last, your care of me hath flourished again. Okay, Paul is saying, you've cared for me before, and now you are caring for me again. You think my hat's ridiculous right now, probably, right? Okay, that's okay. I'm going to keep it on, okay, because I'm reminding you it's cold in this place, all right? It's actually not that bad. It's warmed up to about 15 degrees from 15 below earlier this week. But Paul is saying, you guys cared for me before, and now you're caring for me again. Don't forget to be generous. Okay, don't waste an opportunity to be generous. And Paul is saying, your care for me has flourished. I looked up that word. It has the idea of revived. Okay, it's revived again. It's flourished again. Continue to be a giver. Notice what it says in verse number 10 at the end, wherein ye were also careful, but ye lacked opportunity. And as I consider that statement, I think about how many times gracious givers have given in our direction, but they weren't millionaires. And they weren't even, six-figure heirs, if I can say it that way. They didn't have much. All right. But out of their little they gave. And how many testimonies are there in the scriptures of somebody who gave little and God turned it into much? Think about the little lad who gave of the loaves and fishes, and then Jesus turned around and blessed the multitude, 5,000 men beside women and children. Sometimes we think that our little won't do anything. See, we have people who support our ministry. And there have been some over the years, individuals, who have supported us for as little as $10 a month, but they were so faithful to do so. And you think about how far $10 can go, but yet God blesses that type of generosity and that giving. We've had churches, and we currently do have a church who gives as little as $25 a month, but that is a blessing. And with our particular vehicle, sometimes, especially if we don't let it get all the way empty, that fills the tank. All right, that's a big deal. Okay, you might think that that's a little thing. All right, but one meal, one gas tank, one little bit of giving can go a long ways for the glory of God. And here's the Philippian church, and they took opportunity, even though they lacked opportunity. They made it a point to care for Paul, who was a worker in the ministry, who was faithful. So again, I want you to think about those in the ministry who are faithful. Your pastor, hopefully you have a pastor, hopefully you're faithful to assemble together. Missionaries that maybe you've come across through your local assembly or otherwise. We have had people that we've met out in the middle of nowhere that we didn't even meet in a church. One of them I'm thinking of, we met at a Culver's, and the Lord knit our hearts together, and they ended up giving a couple different donations over the course of a year's time. And that was a blessing, right? Because here was somebody who appreciated meeting somebody who is faithful in the work of the ministry. You can care for somebody, whether it's once or whether it's multiple times over. God can use you to encourage the heart of a missionary, an evangelist, a pastor, somebody who's doing the work of the ministry. Notice what Paul says as he talks about the mentality of the Philippians when it comes to giving. He then speaks about his mentality. Verse 12, I know how to be abased and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. And as a person and having a family, and as we are in the work of the ministry, there are times where you're going to have that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then there are other times where you're going to get to enjoy the finer side of dining as you travel the country, okay? You know how to balance both things. You're not just set on one thing the entire life of the ministry. You know how to be hungry, and you know how to not be hungry, okay? You know how to be content in all things, as he says in verse number 11, not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am therewith to be content. And he's not talking about the state of Alaska from the state of Illinois, where we're from. Okay, he's talking about in the states of life. Okay, in the phases or the seasons of life, I have learned to be content. And so this video is coming to you from a content heart because of your gracious giving. The Lord has blessed us with supporters. And there are missionaries and evangelists and pastors out there who don't have the support of like those in the Philippian church. And so I want to encourage, maybe at one time you were a gracious giver, flourish again. Care for those who are working in the ministry, because It might be that your type of encouragement this way is going to be what gives them a little nudge to keep on going. Though that particular minister, person serving the Lord, shouldn't have a focus on whether or not they serve based upon your giving or not. They serve the Lord because He is worthy, whether the giving is there. But I do remind you that a pastor friend of mine recently mentioned, Justin, I hope that you can gain more support so that you won't have to do these side jobs. Now, I appreciate the side jobs. I love the side jobs. It gives me something to busy my hands with. Idle hands are the devil's playground, as they say. So I love being able to work and provide, and there's always going to be a greater need, and it's very expensive to travel in the work of the ministry. It's also very expensive to have certain things in this life, things that are expensive that weren't even things back when Paul was traveling the country and preaching the gospel and starting churches. And so we understand financially things look different nowadays, and it takes a lot more to go than it did at that time, but it still takes finances to be able to go and to do and to be. And so therefore, once again, we rejoice greatly. Okay, this video doesn't come to you out of a desire to have from you, because Jesus said it's more blessed to give than to receive. And truly, I hope that those of you who know us understand that that is our heart. We love to be generous givers. We love to keep on going in the ministry. And when we come into churches, we want to give of ourselves. We don't want to be burdensome unto them. But man, I sure appreciate it when pastors come along with us and individuals and families come along with us for the purpose of strengthening us in the work of the ministry, whether that's by an encouraging word, the prayers that you lift, or the financial giving that you bring. It is all very much an encouragement to us. And I leave you with one more statement about encouraging. And I don't want this just to be a financial kind of message, because we know that that's not what it's all about, though these are the verses the Lord laid on my heart. And this is the perspective that Paul had. That's the perspective that I want to have when it comes down to the work of the ministry and financial giving, etc. But recently, I had opportunity to preach on Zoom in Canada, and it was a wonderful blessing to be able to deliver the message on Zoom. And sometimes when you preach a message, you wonder, okay, did I give it everything? Of course, I did. I tried to give it everything, but sometimes words come easier than other times, etc. And you just have this mental battle. And I believe that's the way that our great enemy wants it to be, right? That mental battle, the distractions, the detours, all of those things. And shortly after I got done, I actually received an email from one of those who listened to the broadcast that evening, who wasn't from the church in Canada, as far as I understand. He's actually in Washington, the state of Washington, in the lower 48. And, I don't know if he had connections at one time with this church, like maybe he used to go. I don't know. I don't know his background, but he watches those services. And he reached out and he gave me an encouraging word. And man, that just encouraged me in the journey to go another mile, to make sure that I continued in the way that God wanted me to go. And so again, we want to be in this place where we don't need, an encouraging word, right? I mean, we want to be able to go forward whether we receive the encouraging word or not. And only God gives that kind of grace. But God also designed it to be that we encourage one another. So, we appreciate that. And so let this message not just be to encourage you to find a pastor, find a missionary, find an evangelist to support, because I know plenty of them. You can reach out to me. You can ask if you're looking to take on another one. I know plenty of people who are doing the work and staying faithful. I could direct you in that direction, and they would be so grateful for that. But here I am saying, it's not just money. We need prayers, and we need your encouraging word. We need to know that people out there actually care that somebody is in the work of the ministry and serving the Lord full time. And believe it or not, there are pastors that see their people every single week, and sometimes more than once every single week, and they wonder, is it worth it to serve the Lord like this? Is it worth it? And so you can be around them, but never give them an encouraging word or encouragement in some way. Let's let those people in our life be like Paul, who said, whoa, wait a second. Thank you. Thank you for giving. Thank you. It gives me reason to rejoice. I want you to know my perspective. I've learned to be content wherever I'm at, okay, whether I'm freezing in Alaska, okay, and I kind of like the cold, actually, and this funny hat's growing on me, and I don't mind the darkness, at this stage of my life. I don't mind the cold. I don't mind the darkness. But listen, whether it's here in the darkness or somewhere in the brightness of the sunshine, or whether it's needing the jacket, the coat, or whether it's, not, short sleeve shirt, you're good to go. Okay, you're content in the work of the ministry. Financially speaking, Paul was saying, hey, I've learned to be hungry. I've learned to suffer need, all those things. I'm content whatsoever state I am in. I want to encourage my preacher friends and my missionary friends and my evangelist friends who are watching. Let's learn to be content. Right now, having food and raiment, let us be there with content. We may not have full support. We may not have 50% support. We may not have 25%. We may not have 5%. You may just be starting in the work of the ministry, okay? But God is still the same, whether you have 5% or 100% support. Keep on going. God will provide and God will bless. Just stay faithful to the work. And you don't need a certain number of percentage to get the work done for the glory of God. You have everything you need right now to get the work done for the glory of God. So stay faithful. I want to thank you so much for listening to this video. We do appreciate those who like and comment and those who subscribe to our YouTube channel. I believe we're right at, 40-some% of those who watch these videos are actually subscribed, which means the number could go up twice as much. And that only helps the work of the ministry on this end as these messages go forward, hopefully trying to give the right perspective of the scriptures to those who are listening, the right motive of heart. And I pray that today that we can walk away from this with the right motive, with the right perspective, with the right care for those around us. God can use us. And I want God to use me to encourage those who are in the work of the ministry. And that's one of the things that we do with the Heart for Revival Ministries. So please check us out online at heartforrevival.com. We'd certainly appreciate it if you'd visit the website. And then most of all, pray for the work of the Lord. We've got a busy winter up here. Pray for our safety and protection. Pray for God's power as we preach the word, that God would give clarity of thought and God would bring people out to the services and that they wouldn't be distracted from the work of revival and that God would save souls. And we would certainly appreciate that. Thank you for taking time to listen to this video, 17, 18 minutes long. We certainly appreciate you doing so. God bless you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. Have a wonderful day in the Lord. I'm going to get to work now. You have a good day doing work too.